street fight? How many folks signed up with street fight? That ain't nothing half the names I see you going up. Right, so we got Jab out here. Where's Jab at? Come on up to the front, Jab. So we need folks to do, we need folks to sign up. We need folks to get involved. You know, if you out here today, you mad and you pissed off and you want some action, right? Right. LAPD, we call it an action community, right? And it's all about fight back and action. Look, we ain't just talking about it, we did about it. So we out here today, we need to do more than just march and walk up and down the street, right? But I will say, the time is now, we got to stay in the street. Right. We out here, bro. Why this is going on, we got to stay in the street because we got everything covered. When we get out, we tell those people, they ain't got nothing for us. They don't want to see us. They ain't going to talk to us and they can't get it. I'm telling you. And so we got to get everything that we want right now. And in our communities, we got to change our communities to what we want to look like. Right? When you come out of my house, you're going to see fuck the police all in the front of my house. You're going to see the police. You're going to see a bunch of police. You're going to see black national flags all over my house. I got it all decorated. And I want you to do the same too. Where's that at? Yeah. So it don't matter whether you supposed to know Olympics, you can know if you join No Olympics, join DSA, join LAPD, join Venice community houses, join somebody out here, because by you joining those folks, you're going to be joining us because we all together in this fight together, right? Right. We all singing the same song together. So before you leave here, you got to make sure that you get involved because that's the only thing that's going to keep us making last. So I want to sing a song before we leave, and I need y'all help to do it. Is that cool? Yeah. All right, so we're going to split this mother right down the middle right here. Can I get a line goes this way and that way, right down the middle? This way and that way, right? So we're going to be like the choir in church, right? We're going to be the revolutionary church. On this side right here, we're going to say two things. This side right here, we're going to say no handcuffs, right? Can I hear people say no handcuffs? No handcuffs! No, what? It's like we don't want handcuffs, right? So we got no handcuffs. Say it again. No handcuffs! All right. And this side over here, what we want? We want housing, right? We want house keys. There you go. Say it again, bro. We want house keys. So this side gonna say, we want house keys. Can I hear you say it? We want house keys. Say it again. We want house keys. All right. Now we're gonna say it. We're gonna do it with a little soul to it, right? Right. No handcuffs. 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 We don't have that. No handcuffs. No handcuffs. No handcuffs. All right, we got to go with this. No handcuffs. We want house keys, right? So, no handcuffs. Keep it going. No handcuffs. No handcuffs. No handcuffs. No handcuffs. We want house keys. 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 No handcuffs. Yeah, right. Hey, thanks everybody.
We're in this together, right? Yeah! If you have to leave, we're trying to help convince you to stay to the end because we really want to honor Brendon's life. So we've got 3 people on chat. So we have 2 more people on chat. Maybe some of the young ones. Step up, young ones. I'm already losing my voice. Come on, you want anybody else want to come in to chat? All right. So we got 4 people. All right, you guys stay in this area here. And we're staying behind our relatives with a small banner. Tiny but mighty. Let me hear you say tiny but mighty. Tiny but mighty. Big heart. Big heart. That's who we are.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Gentrification! Gentrify community right here. They're trying to gentrify community. We will not allow it. Stop that! Stop gentrification! 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 No gentrification! No gentrification! Game on you! Fuck Fran, you too, Shelby. Fuck you, Shelby. Fuck out of here.
Hey, bring Fran out here. We want to talk to him.
Hey, hey.
Where you at, Fran? Fuck Fran!
Got to go.
Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey.
Everybody, how you doing?
These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey.
These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Got to go.
Joe goes Jim across the street.
Housekeep's not handcuffs. We got you, brother.
Housekeep's not handcuffs. 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 Housekeep's not
Across the street is the bridge housing for the homeless. Opened a few months ago. You gotta be on the list to get in there though. Just going back to Venice, I was getting some food on my way home and I ran into this. They're late. We're supposed to be at the beach earlier. It's all good.
Housekeep's not handcuffs. Housekeep's not handcuffs. Housekeep's not handcuffs.
What's your name?
Cops on the corner, they're monitoring the whole thing. Cops are right there.
Where people can relax, put on a blanket, eat a sandwich, and those of you who want to ascribe to smoking a little ganja, you climb the trees and all we would see are your shoes. And it was pretty chill. Well, let's not talk about that. Look what they did to the park. That's right. They gave it to the dogs. They gave this park to the dogs. And are they taking care of it? No. Because our relatives who are employed as dog walkers unleash 4, 5, 6, 7 dogs at a time all day long and don't pick up the shit.
Like literally don't pick up the shit.
Like literally not picking up the shit. So they try to run their dogs over where we were at Oakwood Park. That ain't gonna fly with us, right?
No!
So the children at Oakwood Park, the People's Park, is a huge racial divide. The homeowners, the white rich homeowners who want to run their dogs over there off leash, that ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right. So what we did, the first time in 16 years, the Venice Neighborhood Council, the circus, they actually did one good thing. They voted to support the People's Park and enforce the law. The one thing they did right in this particular body in 3 years.
Wow.
So I'm going to say this. The following morning, on Monday, last week, they picked up 2 dogs. They just took them away from the owners because then the word got out. Because of our because of our hearts, because the letter of the truth, that the children's lives need to kick a soccer ball, need to learn how to play catch.
Right.
I love my dogs, but I never take them there. So it's people over dogs. People over dogs.
Right. People over dogs.
It has to be. Until a canine can pick up the sign and organize, they're not going to save our lives. Although they do emotionally and spiritually and their families, we have to have people over dogs. So Oakwood Park is the people's park.
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 When we get to Windward Circle, we're going to make a right. And we're almost done, relatives. We're almost there. We're going to go right. Yeah, we're going to go right on Windward Circle. So we're going to have our memorial there for Brendon Glenn and celebrate his life in a good way and put some prayers down for our other relatives. Thank you.
Defund the police! 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 With his blood. Defund the police! 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 Huskies not handcuffs! 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 Huskies not handcuffs!
Tony, almost on the scene.
How you doing?
How's everyone doing? Venice was the only place where black relatives could live after they migrated from Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, escaping slavery, facing Jim Crow. The area is only 3 miles wide, and half that was a place in the boundaries that they could only cross in certain directions. And that isn't Abbott Kinney Boulevard. It's Washington Boulevard, Little Washington, west and east. It was 99.99% black owned. And now you can go over there and buy a $17 latte.
Yeah, right.
Or a $3,000 rocking chair.
For real.
Yeah.
That's 3 months of my rent. So that's why we marched today.
Right.
We marched today because Brother Africa is no longer with us. A relative whose life mattered. I'm going to turn the mic over to the person named Kathy. Kathy Sweetser. I apologize that we didn't get to have you speak earlier.
Hi everyone. I'm here on behalf of Services Not Sweets today. My name is Kathy Sweetser. I work at the Promise Institute for Human Rights. But I'm here talking on behalf of Services Not Sweets. I want to say a little bit about criminalization today. All of you Venice community members know that over the past many years, criminalization of the homeless has been used to move people along. These are our community members, these are our neighbors, and people are using the police as a tool to move people out of Venice. Every time there's a police encounter with a homeless person, that causes an opportunity where violence can occur. These minor, low-level offenses that are being enforced in Venice, these are low-level smoking, riding a bike, things that should never be criminalized. These criminalization of our homeless people in Venice is used simply to create an opportunity for warrants to issue so that they can be arrested, so that they can be harassed. In 2020, a report came out saying that a third of the police use of force in America, in Los Angeles, a third of the police use of force in Los Angeles was against homeless people, despite a tiny fraction of the people of the total police encounters being with homeless people. And this is because people are using these opportunities to move people out of their neighborhoods. We need to, people who are here, who live in Venice, talk to your neighbors. Tell them that there's no need to call the police because someone's having a mental health crisis.
Right.
Encourage your neighbors to think of their unhoused neighbors as also their neighbors. They're part of our community too. We have to ensure that people in our neighborhoods are not criminalized, are not constantly harassed, and are not moved out.
Right.
If we seem a little discombobulated, it's because our relatives, Lanny Williams, Pam Anderson, are sheltering because of COVID. And we know that that affects our black relatives more than any other culture, than any other people. And let's give it up for them. Let's give a big hand for them. I want to make sure that we tell Naomi Nightingale's great grandmother, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, sis!
The man, the legend, the hero, because he's a teacher and has a heart of gold in spite of everything that comes at him. Because of who he is and he's breathing. Here's your relative, Shaka.
Thank you guys for coming out today. My first son has always been the most sensitive person in our house. And since he was a small child, old enough to verbalize his thoughts, he has empathized with the suffering of the homeless. He would ask me through the innocent and uncorrupted eyes of a child whose mind sees right and wrong so clearly, "Daddy, why doesn't anybody help them? Why do so many people look away? Why doesn't everyone stop and do something, Mommy?" And as we would drive and hike and walk through the streets of Venice, one of the now most affluent areas, in one of the most affluent cities, in one of the wealthiest states, in the richest country in the world, it was difficult as his parent to try and answer his questions, to make peace with his suffering, to explain injustice, inhumanity, and cruelty to a child. And now today, his little brother comes with equally difficult questions to answer, the hardest of which is, "Daddy, when did they start not liking black people?" And as we come together today on this ground to gather in memory of Brendon, in solidarity with unhoused lives and black lives, and in recognition of the American story so many of us have been hiding from or hidden by, the intersectionality of Brendon's story has become all of our stories. You see, Brendon's fate was sealed, like many of ours, by the twin evils of American society. The two pillars that we all walk through when we are born inside this country. The two components that from inception needed each other. Racism and capitalism.
Right. Yes.
You cannot separate the two. One is an economic system that necessitates the exploitation of a set of people, and the other, race, is the means by which that set of people was created, then divided, and then subjugated.
Yes.
Brendon could have been in my family. It struck me how much we looked alike. He could have been my brother. And he, like me, is caught and trapped in the inescapable web of a country that devalued his existence on every level. To be poor and black in America is by design.
Right.
It is not an accident.
Yes.
It is by design. And I realize that many of us, for many years, too many years, have comfortably turned our heads from this ugly truth, but it is our truth, and we come together now in 2020 in the spirit of truth.
Yes.
We do come together in the spirit of truth, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Brandon's truth, and Margaret Mitchell's truth, and Richard Castillo's truth, and our unhoused have become the forgotten of the downtrodden. And there is no more time to run from the systematic economic deprivation that America's black people have been forced to endure, and the legacy of poverty that we are now viciously trapped in, relegated to housing projects, environmentally unsafe neighborhoods, reduced to being the unseen and unhoused, and locked out of the wealth acquisition the rest of the country has access to. For me, Brandon's case highlights two things: police brutality, excessive force, and the other is police protection and the government's repeated unwillingness to prosecute.
Right. Yes.
Until we are ready to smash this system where district attorneys refuse to bring police in front of a jury, protected by probable cause and qualified immunity, and my life was in danger, and he was going for my gun, and he had superhuman strength, then we will watch this story again and again and again. We have a system that must be changed when the color of my skin makes me suspicious and justifies a 911 call, which ends up with me being dead when I have committed no crime.
Yes.
In Brendon's case, if you don't know, his murderer's own police chief recommended prosecution. The cop whose gun he was allegedly grabbing says he didn't feel anything. And an independent civilian review board recommended prosecution. And who comes in? Your finest DA, Jackie Lacey, to say,
Fuck Jackie Lacey! Fuck Jackie Lacey! Fuck Jackie Lacey!
yeah, and here she comes like she has so many times before to say, sorry, we don't have a case. We have a systems problem, people, and it is time for a new one. This is now a revolution and a reckoning of the American story. The garbage story that for too long has had a vested interest in our separation. A story that from its very inception was rife with contradictions with the words freedom and justice for all, while black people had no semblance of freedom at the time, as we moved through history through a series of bondage. First, chains and whips, then into fear, terror, and nooses, on through forced segregation, and into our modern day reality when someone can call the cops on me for anything they see as a threat, most notably the color of my skin. When our indigenous ancestors were all murdered or herded like cattle and marched together straight into homelessness, but the history that we are still force-fed in kindergarten leads us to believe that the America's original genocide was a fanciful tale of a great feast and a child's game of cowboys and Indians is bullshit.
Right.
When the western lands we stand on were annexed by military might and taken from Mexico, a country that was still scarred from its own takeover by a different set of European colonizers, a country whose indigenous Aztec population had already been buried under disease and war and famine and the oppression of European colonial imperialism. America, whose stench of its origins excluded women from political process by design, excluded Asians from entering the country, our country, under which the regime of Nazi Germany laid their blueprints after carefully studying United States Jim Crow laws, still stinks. When George Floyd was murdered, a piece of all of us died for real, and a protest began, and we stood. And the protest turned into an uprising, and the uprising turned into a movement. And now here we are, and the movement has become a revolution. And I said a few weeks ago that this is the resistance that is rising from George Floyd's last breaths. But now as I sit with the protests that have become the largest protest movement in American history, let that sink in, people. We are now a part of the largest social movement for equality in American history. Every state of the union is rising up. And I realize that not only do we have each other as accomplices in the fight, but we have the collective force of our millions of ancestors guiding us. To quote one of my heroes, James Baldwin, and I'm quoting, "America, all of your buried corpses are beginning to speak." And the corpses are asking that we fight more than police brutality. Our answers are asking that we fight more than 400 years of colonial occupation. We are now here fighting for a way of life. We are fighting against a belief system that has pitted us against each other, that teaches little boys and little girls that their only choices are on the margins and in the edges. We are gathering to break down the polarities that America has chosen for us, that have so profoundly divided us, against the words that only serve to deny our togetherness and simultaneously strip us of our uniqueness. We are fighting for acceptance. All of us fighting for recognition of the spaces that exist in between, where we can safely love each other in the middle. We are fighting for a new way of life, and everybody out there, silence is no longer an option.
Right.
People of color and Brandon and the poor have been forced to live on the edges and choked and starved from the center, and we cannot escape it. And privately, in the darkest hour of night, white people know this truth too. And that's why you are here. You too know that the level of hate and subjugation that has been around the necks of your BIPOC brothers and sisters is no longer sustainable. And the senseless and inhumane deaths that we now see daily have jolted you, have shocked you. And you are now waking up, and you too will not have it any longer. And
That's
you
right.
are tapping into our collective pain and our collective suffering, and we will heal it with love.
Yes.
And on the real though, it won't be easy, because the seeds of hate are strong. And I, Shaka, lover of all, I will walk away from here, and I will see some of you in my moments of weakness, in my moments of pain, and I will see my oppressors. The trauma that is embedded in my DNA, I will see my enslavers who stole my ancestors from their homes and packed them on ships to serve their vision and their needs. I will look at you and sometimes in my pain see the people who marched through my ancestors' land, lied, cheated, and terrorized us while claiming it as their home. And I will look at children in cages at the border, and I will see my own children crying in their eyes. And I will wonder, how can I join and claim anything that purports to be American? I will watch some of you leave here and turn a blind eye to the lady in front of the 7-Eleven, mumbling as you write her off to being drunk or crazy, and her pain will be my pain. And I don't know what you will think when you and I cross each other's path, sometimes under a moonlit night, or at the beach, or in the store, or when any one of us cross the path of someone that we have been taught are other. But all of my soul knows that today is the day to look at each other and smile.
Yeah.
And that when we peel through our pain, our love awaits us and is infinitely stronger than any hate that our country has taught us.
That's right. Yeah. Come on.
You see, hate is the easy way out. It's the easy way out. Because again, to paraphrase Baldwin, hate comfortably hides our pain.
Wow.
And we are all in pain. So I vow, Shaka Foreman, CHAKAFORMAN, to not run from the hurt that is inside of me. And I ask you to not run from yours either. It may be many years before history reveals the accomplishments of our awakening, and we cannot change the beginning of the American story, but we can rewrite that fucker from here.
Right.
I'm gonna tell y'all what we have to do. We have to rip off our shackles of bondage and say, here we are, see me.
Right.
We have to tear at the broken treaties and dance on Mother Earth together and howl at the moon together and say, here we are, see me.
Right.
We have to together bust open the human cages at the borders, return those children to their mothers, and say, here we are, see me. And if we stand together, enough of us standing together, screaming to end the old story, we are writing the new one. When patterns are broken, new truths emerge. Love is here around you today, standing for our unhoused. Love is knocking down statues and monuments of our oppressors. That is love doing that. Don't fool anybody.
Right.
Love is standing in front of city halls and courthouses across the country. Love is demanding recognition of our ancestors' land. Love is shattering our assumptions of gender and sexuality. Love brings you here today, and love needs to walk you to the ballot in November and claim the office of every position, top to bottom, in our democracy, away from the people who do not stand for your freedom and my equality. Ask yourselves forevermore, y'all, where are you when your brothers and sisters are being oppressed? Today you are here, but tomorrow I need you to hold my hand. I need to walk together. We need to sit with our biases, and I guarantee you, our collective love will dismantle and overwhelm and destroy every system that eats at our souls, and it will be replaced with the love that existed before any of us were here. The revolution is here today.
Yes.
And we will be here today for Black lives.
Yes.
We will be here tomorrow for Black lives. We will be here today and tomorrow for unhoused lives. We will be here today and tomorrow for Black land. We will be here today and tomorrow for Latinx lives. We will be here today and tomorrow for disabled lives. Put it up. We will be here today and tomorrow for autistic lives. We will be here today and tomorrow for indigenous lives. We will be here today and tomorrow for children's lives. And we for damn sure better be here today and tomorrow for the life of Mother Earth. Black Lives Matter.
That's right. Black Lives Matter.
One love.
Dr. Foreman.
Shaka! 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 We love you! We love you! We love you!
Hey, y'all, Black Lives Matter. We need y'all up on this hill with us. We need you guys up on this hill. Your brothers got to be right now. You know, so we can let you guys know what we do after.
Okay.
What we do after we go.
Okay.
Party on the hill, y'all.
Party on the hill. All
Party
right.
on the hill.
Grace,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
everyone's relative after today, correct? Everyone. Thank you, Grace, and thank you for holding it up, but we got you, okay? And as an Indigenous person, we let the cheers flow because I can't touch you because I have to let those cheers flow. Okay? We love you. We're with you.
Fuck, man. This is really hard. Wow, that speech was so beautiful. Like, to hear someone else talk about Brendon, it was really beautiful, so thank you for doing that. Fuck, man. You know, this moment right now is so crazy because it feels like all these things have led to this exact moment right now, which I know every single moment is that, but this moment especially, the last time that I was here at the place where Brendon was killed, me and my mother were putting up prayer ties for him, so it's so nice to have Indigenous people here to represent that, so thank you guys.
Yeah.
So my dad had a conversation with Brendon's grandmother, my great aunt, on the phone. I'm going to play some of it for you guys. But Brendon was first arrested in his life when he was a teenager for smoking weed, which I'm sure everyone in California feels a type of way about. And then after that, he was profiled for the rest of his time living in Troy, New York. The police would wait outside of his house where he was staying to harass him. He would get pulled over almost every single time he drove, and he was profiled for the rest of his time living there. I'm going to play this part of something that his grandmother said.
That they shot him, he went into the bar to plug in his phone, and that irritated the bouncer. But every time he went anywhere, the bouncer suddenly materialized and was irritated.
Yeah.
And they are ignorant and very, very dumb and stupid. So he followed him outside after he made him take his phone off the wall, and he didn't have any place to charge him because his best friend had a fight with him and threw him out. I don't know what he did. He wouldn't tell me.
Yeah.
But he had a terrible fight with Brendon. So Brendon was thrown out and had nowhere to leave have his phone charged. So the bouncer, who was an ignorant fat slob, chased him out of the bar and got attention from the two policemen that were standing outside guarding the place. And Brendon stopped and told them, I don't know what's wrong with him, why he's so mad. And he went walking away, and that's when they shot him.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. You know, it's. I think a lot of this has been really, I mean, I'm sure I think it's hard for us, and it's hard to put into words because, people will talk about, injustice, but Brendon's Brendon does,
Yeah.
It's just I think it's been hard for me to watch and to hear people talk about, and even though it's good that they're talking about it, it's good that they're speaking up, but it's hard to, because it's not as much political as it is personal, for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was his grandmother, who he lived with in Troy, New York before he moved to California. For some people who don't know about Brendon, he moved here for a job. The job didn't work out. He was figuring out his next steps, where he was going to go, what he was going to do. He was staying with friends. I've done that. I've lived that life. I've stayed with friends. I've not known what I'm doing next. And he was just having a bad day. And nobody should be killed for just having a bad day.
You're right.
Right.
I'm gonna have my friend Will share a statement that my uncle wrote, who helped raise Brendon as well.
One day, when Brendon was about 10 years old, his mom dropped him off at my place. Brendon had lots of questions about people, about the world, family, mechanical things, and so on. After about 15 minutes of questions at rapid succession with me attempting to answer each with a thoughtful, truthful, and motivational response, I started to feel like they may never end. It was then, when he paused, looked at me, and asked, "Bri, my questions seem to annoy everyone but you. Why?" And you see, that was yet another question in a series of what seemed to be thousands that day. Brendon was a strong athlete and learned sports quickly. As a hockey player, he was used to competition and the need to learn quickly and perform. He was also extremely gregarious and outgoing, which meant that he commonly made new friends in a matter of minutes and seemed to have a great time everywhere. He was also loyal to his family and friends, always keeping them in his heart. I know this because he always had some story to share and questions or more details about people's motivation. While Brendon didn't learn well in classes, he was certainly a student of life and always learning. He was never afraid to ask questions that the other people would always hear. He was never afraid to ask questions that other people wouldn't, and hear the answers that others would be afraid of. One day, when Brendon was around 12, I took him skiing for the first time. He was so excited. While he'd never tried it before, he wasn't scared, but confident that he could do it. He had visions of going to the top of the mountain and skiing with me as a regular routine. We loved spending time together. I cautioned him that it may take some time to get to the top and to focus on the moment he was in and on the skills needed at all times. An attentive, "Okay, Bri," I heard in response. After about 10 minutes on the bunny slope, his progress was so rapid that I could see he was going to make it to the chairlift that day. As soon as I could see him able to control his speed and turns on the slope we were on, I agreed to take him on the next one. That was about an hour into the day, where normally this tended to take people several hours or days at a minimum. We proceeded to the small chairlift, and that was a bit more challenging. After a couple hours of face plants and tumbling yard sales, we took a break. While we ate and talked, I could see that there wasn't 1 ounce of frustration, no wavering from his goal. Instead, the questions were about what it would take to gain the skills needed to be able to ski down from the top. I described them, he listened, we finished our lunch, and made it back out to conquer these newly understood skills. To my surprise, he focused intently and achieved all of those skills I described verbally over a sandwich. Having done that, the question, "Bri, can we go to the top now?" And of course, that was very possibly the easiest question I ever answered for Brendon. Our adventures continued in the months and years to come, with him having the same one-day learning curve to snowboarding. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that he convinced me to take him to the terrain park jumps on the first day, but that may be the rosiness of the recollection at play. Brendon was my boy. While he was my cousin, he was like my first nephew. We built his first computer together, played catch, first mountain bike ride, bought him his first car, got him his first internship, and bought him his flight to California. Answered every phone call, sharing the good times and the bad. He helped me learn the patience and the value of calm focus on the conversation that you are having at the moment. Every moment that we had together was important.
Good afternoon, relatives. My name is Mike Bravo. Pardon me if I jump back and forth a little bit. It's, I want to thank you for your sacrifice here. It's been a hot day. This walk here, and hope you're staying hydrated and everything. So I just want to acknowledge, this walk, this prayer, everything we're doing here this time is a sacrifice. So I want to thank you for that sacrifice. I'm a 5th generation Venetian here. Mexica Purepecha Chicano. I stay over here off of Sunset and 6th. And I say that just as a way to kind of acknowledge my ancestors. We all have ancestors. Some have to dig a little further more than others, but they're there. And I just want to say, when a lot of talk to you about defunding the police and smashing on white supremacy, what does that mean? White supremacy There's a lot of different ways, and it manifests in the ways we can fight it. And it's synonymous with colonialism. So white supremacy colonialism thrives off the erasure of history and voices. So when they rename a country America, when they rename a state California, or when they rename a village Venice, that's part of that that erasure. And I want to say we need to move beyond the American narrative, back to our indigenous roots, from wherever we come from. I want you to all think right now, 1,000 years ago, where were your ancestors at? Who were they? What were they practicing? Looking beyond these immediate popular religions, what were they practicing? What was their worldview? How did they go about doing things? And we all have, like I said, some people have to dig more than others, but I want people to stop and reflect on that. And the spirit of dismantling white supremacy, that means decentering whiteness. So what that means is doing away with what we call linear, hierarchical colonial thinking and modes. When we remove the conscious and unconscious social culture of elevating and prioritizing whiteness, we remove whiteness from the pedestal and bring it into the circle where everything and everyone is equal. No linear thing, that's what we call the linear and circular teaching. So down with the linear thinking and the way of being into the circular way of life. And again, too, it also means correcting and lifting up marginalized histories. White supremacy culture thrives off the erasure of history, so we need to elevate our histories. However, document our histories. First Baptist Church of Venice represents, and so many people's histories. Also, too, I read this article earlier, LA Times, and it was about police deaths since 2000. 900 police killings since 2000. Year 2000, 8% of them black and brown males between the age of 20 and 50 years old. That's deep. And there's a lot of things that, as black and brown people, we already know, but when you see the numbers, it's even more disturbing. And that's not even, count all the lives that we've lost from like gang violence, drug addiction, all of which is racism, there's white supremacy, it all feeds into that too. So it's not just a matter of police killings, it all plays a role. All those things reinforce the other elements. So with this prayer, I wanted to, focus on, a closing prayer, and more particularly lifting up the names of all those we lost to police violence. There's so many to name, but immediately here in Venice, Brendon Glenn, of course, Jason Davis, and Jamal Lee Warren, aka Shakespeare, and there are many others too. There's too many.
How did Shakespeare die?
Shakespeare was killed at the Cadillac Hotel down the way by not necessarily law enforcement per se, but it was a security guard, but in the hired gun, in the spirit of that same law enforcement spirit, which is to protect white property on indigenous land, to protect that white property, slave patrols and all that. That's what that spirit is, regardless if it's a security guard or non-police officer or not. And as we move forward, we know what we're against, but we have to also envision what are we for as well.
Right.
In the spirit of practicing decentering whiteness and returning to one's original ways, and in this case, original timekeeping ways, today on the Aztec Mexica calendar is 10 Malinali. So Malinali is a way of saying herb, and it represents regeneration, concept of change, concern for future generations. It's a good day for praying for well-being, so we're right in sync with that cosmic calendar. And the number 10, that represents the human potential to create. So, saying 10 in the Aztec language is Matlacli. So, Macuili is 5, which really represents the hands. So when we say Matlacli, that's 2 hands. And so I want to ask if you have your arms crossed or your hands closed, to open up your hands, uncross your arms, because we're going to do a prayer, and it's important that people's heart and their body and your energy is open. And so the Matlacli, you got 2 mas, which is 2 hands, and Tlaca means a person. So the power to create, and all things that emanate from the ability of our power to manifest. So right now I want us to lift up Brendon Glenn's name, Jason Davis, Shakespeare, and right now think about so many other people who've died to, from homelessness, from law enforcement, from white supremacy in general, be it the schooling system, school to prison pipelines. Think of those people right now for the next 15 seconds. Think of someone, something. missing immersed indigenous women. So with that too, with our hands open, our hearts open, we ask that their spirits be in peace. Brendon Glenn, all our fallen relatives, and we evoke their presence and to ask them for guidance and for healing to all these spirits, all these people that we're thinking of, to guide us in solutions and visions for what's the right way to go and what's the right way to get there. And let's do that for about 10 seconds. Evoke that energy and ask for that guidance and those love and solutions. And so that was luckily seconds, just FYI. And just thank everybody again for your sacrifice here and for your prayers and for your vision. And we need to do this often, invoke your ancestors, I hope.
Thank you, relative. Mike Bravo. Kimichipili, Little Mouse. So all the pictures and all the videos, you got a hashtag Brendon Glenn's name, Black Lives Matter, Save Venice, Save X Venice, and any other hashtag you want, but we ask that you align us all together with the social media, because the revolution may not be televised, but it certainly is going to take a lot for them to take us all down via social media. So I have to ask, how many of you have walkie-talkies? You have to get those encrypted and share them with 6 to 10 people that you trust in your trench. Because at some point, when they took down our cell phones just about a month ago, it wasn't an accident and it wasn't a merger. They're practicing. How many of you are food secure? Like for a couple of weeks at least. How many of you are food secure enough to share? How many of you are water secure? How many of you are making the commitment for this evolution of self? How many of you will be back next Sunday? So we can sit in communication. We want to hear from you. Want to hear what your thoughts are, debrief in person, and then we'll pray together. Because that's how we met at the church. We would just sit around and write relations and look at each other. We'll have to do it at that physical safe distancing with the mask. But we're committed to making sure that we take good care of each other. Be gentle with yourself so you can be gentle with others. Because we're not doing that hate, we're not doing that ignorance, and we're not doing that divide. And may you walk in that prayer until we meet again, relatives. Can you do that?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. There was one relative who wanted to say a few words, and I don't know where. I keep my word. Word, word, word. What's your name, sweetheart?
What's up, Venice? How y'all doing today, man? Let's wake y'all up, man. Black lives, they matter here. 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 I want to thank every last one of y'all that aren't black for being out here and saying that my life matters. I want to thank y'all.
Thank you. For you.
I want y'all to be clear. For those that march with us, you saw me running up and down these streets, banging that good music, standing my ass in front of these crazy ass people trying to run us over. Some of y'all seen it, some of y'all didn't. It's okay. I want y'all to understand something. We're at war out here. And I hear a lot about peace and love. And I want to get to that. I really want to get to that. But I want y'all to understand something. In order to get to peace and love, we have to have an understanding. And as you can see, as we marched from the church right here, there were some people
that had some misunderstandings. Y'all saw it out there. Y'all saw it out there. So let's be clear. In order to get some understanding, there's going to be, and there will be, violence. I don't want y'all to be afraid of that. What I want you to do is to not be an ally. I talked about this before for those of y'all that heard it. I'm not looking for allies. Us black community, we're not looking for allies. Them brown community that they still killing, they killing them just like they killing us. Let's be clear. We ain't looking for allies. We're looking for accomplices.
Yes.
Now you ask me, people, how do I be an accomplice? I want to get down. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Volunteer your time to the cause, because time is money. Believe that.
Yes.
Donate to organizations of the cause, because we all know that we need these dollars. Support black and brown, indigenous people. Support those entrepreneurs, because you got the choice on where you spend your money. That's a fact.
Right.
I'm gonna give y'all a little example. Did y'all know Home Depot contributed $7 million to Donald Trump and his campaign? Y'all know that?
Yeah.
Y'all know that? How many of y'all shop there? It's okay. You can raise your hand. I'm not mad at you. We ain't mad at you. How many shop there because we all know that Lowe's is a little more expensive? How many of y'all do that? Y'all been guilty. It's okay. I want y'all to understand. Do your research. Because Lowe's CEO is a black man. Yeah, he's a black man. Lowe's CEO is a black man. And this black man will take off his suit and tie and get on the floor, put on that "How may I help you" vest, and get on the floor with his people and show them how it's done. That's a black man. That's Lowe's right now. So what I want y'all to do is I want you to do your research. I want you to realize what you're really supporting. Because at the end of the day, my life motherfucking matters.
That's right. Yes.
Now, Goods Unite Us, can I Google that? Goods Unite Us? Goods Unite Us is an app, y'all. Y'all go ahead and do your research. Goods Unite Us, man. If you can't spend no money today, go ahead and hit your Play Store, hit your App Store. Go ahead.
Tell you the political affiliations of all these major brands and where they've donated to, whether it's politicians or just campaigns or whatnot. It's not the most concise resource, but it's definitely a huge start. It's a huge start. What's it called?
One more time. What's it called?
Goods Unite Us.
Goods Unite Us. It's an app, y'all. So.
There's another thing called Progressive Shopper that's a Chrome extension. You download it on Google Chrome, so you don't have to go to an app to do it. It just like if you're on Adidas website, it'll show up in the corner with like what they support and if they align with your political views. Progressive Shopper. Okay. So easy. Thank you. It's great.
There you go, guys. So this is, y'all go ahead and give it out a clap. Y'all go ahead. It's okay. It's all right. So today I came here to tell y'all, real quick, be an accomplice, don't be an ally. Get your shirt, because every last one of y'all are billboards. Every last one of y'all. What you wear is what you stand for. That's a fact. If you got nothing on your shirt, that means you stand for nothing. And if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. That's facts. That's facts now. So, Public Statement Apparel, you can follow me on Instagram, Public Statement Apparel, or you can get you some merch at publicstatementapparel.com. My shirts are right over there. I have 3 different designs. 1 for $22, 2 for $30. I take cash, app, Zelle, Venmo, all that good stuff, and of course cash. Y'all support it. Put your money where your mouth is, and if you can't support today, volunteer some time, y'all. This is another PSA brought to you by Public Statement Apparel. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Before we close, I think we have a 2-minute shared words here with relative. I didn't catch your name. Desorion. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
What's up, Venice? I am Desorion. If you out here on Venice, I'm sure you've seen me if you've been out here the last 3 years. I'm out here all the time. A lot of y'all know me and my products. I know that we're talking about defunding the police and, Black Lives Matter and fuck white supremacy and all of these things. And these are all things that that are process or whatever it is, a process so that we as people can fix them, whatever the thing is that we don't like them doing, and we're gonna fix it. I got that. I understand that. I'm out here fighting. Y'all wouldn't believe it. I have a shot right here in my leg from a non-violent protest. They shot me in the leg, and my friend right here shot her in the back. Right there on Melrose. Non-violent. All right? But here's the thing. When you're out here, and you're walking down the street, and you're like, you're right here now, you're like Black Lives Matter, but then me, I'm walking down the street, I'm walking past you, and I'm walking down the street, and you see me, that subtle racism and kind of, this black guy, I don't know him, I don't know what he's gonna do. I see it, all the time I see it. So you got to understand that racism, it's not a thing that, oh, we're doing racism, they're doing that. No, it is a virus. It's like the fucking flu. You have to make sure that you protect yourself, protect your immune system. Stop watching that nonsense that they say about black people on the news. Force yourself to not be afraid. Right. It's danger everywhere. You can get hit by a bus crossing the street here. Right. People who have never ever had a physical altercation with a black person are petrified of me when we walk down the street. Yeah. And I serve God. So I'm here to tell you that in all of this stuff that we're trying to bring down, this corporation stuff, these police and LAPD and all of that stuff, bro, it starts with you. Right. You got to say, hey, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to say Black Lives Matter to me. When this black person approaches me or speaks to me randomly, I'm not going to have a idea. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know. No, I'm going to serve. I'm going to remember Black Lives. I'm going to remember that institution of racism was forced for me to be conditioned, and I'm going to fight it right now. Right now is when I'm going to say Black Lives Matter. And that's what you got to do, y'all. I'm the story on the dawn. I love y'all. I'm going to be out here watching y'all. For real.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to close it with this.
Sure.
The military globally has bases in every corner of the world. And when some of the men take leave, they take children, they pay for children, they pay for women, they pay for trans, they pay to have relations, and sometimes they don't, they just take, and they rape, and they kill. This would be incomplete if we did not say her name, Vanessa Guillaume.
Yes.
Vanessa.
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 So what do we want? Homes, not bombs. Homes, not bombs. Homes, not bombs. Homes, not bombs. Food, not bombs. Food, not bombs. Food, not bombs. Food, not bombs. Water, not bombs. Water, not bombs. Water, not bombs. Water, not bombs. May we meet again next Sunday, 12 to 3. May at Holmes Square, EL Holmes Square, and that'll be at the church. We're walking back, and we're just going to play music, and we're going to celebrate life. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to walk back.
Yeah. We're gonna play.
Are you still live streaming?
Yeah.
Is that Facebook?
Huh?
My feed died. My phone overheated.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Do you have? What's your Facebook?
Ready to walk back?
Look at my YouTube.
Oh, is it YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome because I missed Shocker. Like my phone
Oh, that
overheated.
sucks, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, what is it?
Tony Barra.
T-O-N-Y.
Yeah, all together. B-E-R-A.
B-E-A-R.
B like Victor.
Oh, Victor. Tony
B-E-R-A. 1902. And 902. That's it.
Is that you?
That's me, yeah.
Okay, yeah, let me. Okay, so that's where you're going on now, Tony?
Yeah, let's get set up right
Go
now.
straight
Yeah, thank you.
and around windward.
I do a lot of live streaming and people can never hear who I'm interviewing.
Well, yeah,
For like 5 years, and it's like, because randomly I'm just like, oh, aside from doing it, I'll start talking, they'll start talking, and then I'm like, dude, I can't hear it. So
Trial and error.
it was definitely a good investment for me.
What's your name?
Keith.
Keith, glad to meet you, man.
Hey, good to meet you too,
And what's
Tony.
your Facebook?
I do a Facebook, Keith Anthony Sikora, Keith,
Yeah.
Anthony, then S as in Sam, Ikora.
Well, thank you for what you do, man.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Thank you. Yeah, I felt your presence next to me. And
No, I saw you over there. Cause I was going home, and you motivated me.
oh,
You know, thank you.
ah, man.
Seriously.
That guy hug?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. All right, so
You motivated me, man.
I'll get a hold of you via YouTube. Are you on Facebook as well?
I'm on Facebook too, Tony Barra.
Tony, okay, I'm going to Facebook friend you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you, man.
great. Thank you, Tony.
All right, see you again.
They could be inconvenienced.
I'll put the video in the description later on of Brendon Davis, who was shot by the LAPD police officer. That was my friend who actually shot him. And I took his side, the cop. But when I actually saw the video, I knew I was wrong. So.
This is big. This is big. My life don't matter. No. My life doesn't matter. This black life don't matter. No, I don't.
Bring my car back. We're gonna march back to the park. I'm not going to the 10 days forward. Thank you, everyone.
Our street! Our street! Our street! Our street!
Yeah, I remember that happened when Brendon Davis was shot by the LAPD officer. I was coming home from an event. My friend heard some gunfire. But before that, he asked me was it safe in the neighborhood. I said, yeah, it's safe. And then I went over there. I got some good footage. I didn't know the whole story. But the cop was Clifford Paxton. I knew him for years. So I don't know what happened. He must have had a breakdown that day or something. But he was normally a good cop until that night. It was devastating. That whole deal. When I saw the video, I realized that I was wrong. Even though he was a nice cop, that night he made a bad mistake. He shot the guy 2 times in the back. And I was trying to defend this guy.
No! Fuck this right there! Y'all talking about the desire for it and he's yelling at y'all. He lives here. You were just standing on his house. Stop and listen to him. This is when it matters. Y'all just walk past him.
Listen what's going on. Guys, what are you going to do after the protesters are done? We're going back to status quo, business as usual. We have to get a plan. We have to hear what this man's got to say.
Let's go, guys.
We got a history. We got a history. My mother got kicked in the mouth by the police in 1965. Right? Protesting. Bam! I'm gonna keep out of mouth. They've been doing this forever. So in my life, if Black Lives Matter.
Please follow up. Well, you can't listen to what's happening.
It don't matter to you.
It don't matter to you.
You just move. Stop. You just want to march, bro. What you gonna do at the march? I know.
And they can drown them out with music. Look.
No, what the flag like in the map? Nobody likes fucking matters, dog.
Tell them what y'all doing over here with the flag.
The flag is turned upside down. Completely illegal. The U.S. Code says you can do this. Why? Because the state is in distress. We got dealing with the corona garbage.
Can you please turn that down?
And then the man gets lynched. We're in distress. Everybody needs to turn the flags upside down. Get the president to turn the flag, all the flags we turn upside down. The reality of the situation is this. We are in despair, people. This is us. We are in despair. We have to recognize that and do something about it. Not just march for a good time. Great, I love you guys out here. They're marching for us. So the second time in the history, the white people have walked for us. The North and the South, and now. This is big, people. It's bigger than, this is humongous. We just can't let it walk away from us. We can't. Because more lives will be lost. And that's guaranteed because the history that we have with the white folks is bad. I love y'all for trying to help fix it, but it's more than just protesting.
All right. But it starts with protesting.
It does. And it starts with listening and listening.
Right, but you're replicating white supremacy in your protests. When the brother he got kicked off the block 2 weeks ago for a Black Lives Matter protest where he sleeps.
I'm agreeing
then
with
they
you.
can't, David, please let me finish. I love you. Let me finish. I watched them, young African Americans who are privileged, who have jobs, and they say they took 3 weeks off of work to organize this. And this brother was saying, my life don't matter. Y'all just kicked me off of where I sleep.
so y'all could have a healing Black Lives Matter thing. And he tried to get on the mic and they didn't give him any time. But then he just down there tried to get on the mic and they didn't give him any time. And then we talked to the organizers and that doesn't fit in the schedule. That schedule is not our way of operating.
That's not true.
Okay, that's not true. I'm sorry.
May I say?
Last week I wasn't here for
that
anything
happened
this week.
before. What it is that we want to make sure that you guys get back to your families. And the fact is that we have to get you back, escorted safe back to the park. Now, if the gentlemen want to come back and meet with us at the church, excuse me, I did not interrupt you. And the fact is that the beach is closed. The beach is closed, so we're not supposed to be going over there. That's why we didn't go. Otherwise, we would have walked down the boardwalk, and we would have stopped with our relatives here. And you don't know me, sir. You don't know me. You don't know me, so I would appreciate if you don't lie on me. And don't call me outside my name, because I pray for everyone. As a matter of fact, Gorilla Food Not Bombs delivers cases of water up and down this boulevard and up and down 3rd and 4th Street to make sure that people have a bottle of water on such a hot day like this. There is no right and wrong right here. It's just an invitation to continue the conversation and make sure that we planned logistically to get you back to your cars or the bus route or the train or your bicycles. That's it. That's my obligation as a grandmother. And I don't appreciate the assumptions being made, because that's not our obligation, is to finish what we started in a good way. I am not interested in taking you all to the beach and have the police do what they want to do with us, because otherwise we won't be here for Black Lives Matter. We won't be here for Black Lives, because they'll be busy trying to do what they do. So let's march back, and I apologize.
Can I please, just to give another side of that?
Sure.
My name is Sultan. I've been working on the block for, I don't know, David, how long have we known each other? And during the beginning of COVID, there was nobody out here. What they're voicing, Auntie, I love you. I hope you can feel the sincerity. I love you. What they're voicing, though, is, like, how many of y'all know the folks on the block we just marched? Jeannie died while there was Black Lives Matter marches. She was in the tent. Did we say her name? Right, we're giving, huh?
She's white.
She's
We're here
white.
today to honor Black homeless.
Right, but we're talking about,
and we are here to honor Black organizers, the Black women who were too exhausted from organizing. This Naomi and Laddie who organized this thing, and you were invited to be involved in the organizing, but you would rather come out and film the disruption.
No, I've been on the block. How long have we been hanging out? The last 4 months?
Follow the leaders. Follow the leaders.
Right, and what I'm saying, what they're feeling is you all just walked down their block where they sleep every day.
Yeah.
And no one stopped and asked them their name, and no one stopped to ask them what they feel, and no one stopped to ask them about their friend who passed away. While they listened to you talking about the need to do these things. That is where he's coming from. He's sitting there and he's like, oh wow, I hear everything y'all saying. Is one of them gonna speak to me? No. Because the march had to go. Who gave you the permit? You're playing into white supremacy because they made up the permit, or the police. Right, but what he's trying to get at is they don't have the luxury to go home safely. They don't have the luxury to go home safely.
Organizing
it's not
is for
always
people
pretty.
who organize. It's not for people who come out with their individual complaints. Can organizations always improve? Yes, but not by people who disrupt them.
I was just trying to honor that brother's face. This is the second time I saw this happen. I'm just trying to honor his face. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying we need to dig deeper. There's still more elements.
Right, we need to dig deeper as a group, not as a bunch of individual voices who want to hijack everything.
But the brother, he was feeling
Sultan, you know what? Sultan, he didn't even ask me for time on the mic, and I would give it to him. Because the other brother, the other relative, we gave him time. The fact is that when if something were to happen, and they were to ask me, what did I do to help them? I'm going to say I did everything. I did everything I could for every single individual here. And we were not going to go up on the hill. We can't go. I'll go up there at 6 in the morning and put my prayers down, as I have been since the beginning of COVID, and I'll be praying for everyone. There's no right and wrong with this. Use communication. Invite the relative next Sunday. Invite the relative to come next Sunday. We will honor him with all the time he needs. Let yourself be hostage like that. You can't be like deer in headlights. Let's go. Let's Go. 'Cause I don't want to hear about Ted Hayes.
Black lives, they matter here. 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 Black lives, they matter
Brendon Glenn! Brendon Glenn! Brendon Glenn!
No justice. No peace. No crooked ass. No peace. No justice. No peace. No crooked ass. No peace. No justice. No peace. No crooked ass. No peace. No justice. No peace. No crooked ass. No peace. We don't get it. Shut it down. 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 We don't get it.
Thanks a lot for that. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jody. I'll put the video of Brendon Davis when he was shot a few years ago. I covered that story, actually. We'll put that in the description when I get home and go back and watch it. Very rich area now. This used to be a really poor neighborhood years ago. Albert Kenny. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Tony Bear signing off here in Venice, California. Hey, thank you, Life. Peace, Caesar. Thank you, Caesar Box.
Tony.
All right. See you later. Okay, people, that was beautiful. Really nice. It was supposed to start at 2:30 in Venice. I was waiting for it all day. It never showed, so got some food. I was going home, and I happened to run into it. That's my whole life based on running into it. Tony Rivera signing off here, Venice, California.